Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Terry with College Football Stop. Bring you another show today. Finally got some excitement about Ohio State football again, man. I know we had a couple rough weeks after losing to Michigan and kind of losing some guys to the transfer portal. But it looks like Ohio State's starting to pick it up a little bit in the transfer portal. Maybe they're going to land a couple guys. And then the players met with the media yesterday, which is kind of the main topic today, because they had a lot of cool things to say, in my opinion. So I just want to talk about it and get into it. So the first thing, the main topic of the show, obviously Ohio State has a new starting quarterback, kind of what was expected, at least for me. Devin Brown will be Ohio State's new starting quarterback, and he met with the media and he said, basically the way he announced it was like, I can't believe my first start is going to be in the Cotton Bowl, which obviously that's super cool. He hasn't really gotten any reps or at least in game reps all year. So yeah, I mean, he apparently Devin Brown's going to be the starter, and honestly, it wasn't like coincidence that they put him out there to talk to the media. They typically don't put guys out who are not going to play or who are not expected to have a big role in the game, or in like coming up in the near future. I know, like if you look back right before Kenyatta Jackson started playing more, we got to hear from him in the media, stuff like that. So Devin Brown's going to be the starter. I'm excited about it because I honestly think that he probably did enough to where he should have won the job last year, but that's a whole nother story. I think Ryan Day messed it up. Obviously, we're not in practice all the time, so we don't know everything that goes on, but if the rumors that came out were true about the coaches voting on, apparently Devin Brown won the vote and all that good stuff, Ryan Day messed this up and kind of, I don't know, if Devin Brown is as good as I think that he can be, Ryan Day kind of tossed an entire season out of the way, which really sucks for a lot of these players that are currently making a decision on whether they should go pro or not. Because honestly, regardless of like game film, if this team was in the playoffs right now and got to go out and excuse me, they got to go out and play a playoff game where everyone was watching, a lot of these guys' draft grades would probably end up being even higher than what they are. So if that is the case, Ryan Day did do that and kind of costed all these guys that opportunity. It sucks, and I mean, I think Ryan probably has to answer for that. But we'll see how Devin Brown looks. I mean, everyone seems to be very excited about him. The overall morale of the team seems pretty good, especially considering the last game they played was the loss to Michigan. So I don't know, man. Devin Brown talked about becoming. He had how once Kyle was gone, which he said that surprised him that Kyle left. Said that Kyle told him about it, but he mentioned that he has to go back to being the leader again, like he was in the summertime. Which I don't know if you look at, or if you sorry, what the other players were saying about Devin Brown was basically that he is a great leader. He's a very vocal leader. And then there's some other things I want to talk about. They said because they had high praise for him, but just getting back to what I was saying, he said that he needs to, or he is getting back to being the leader again, like he was in the summer, which is weird. Like I don't know, man. Like if you have a guy who's that surefire leader type, I don't know. Again, it just comes back to not sure why he wasn't playing more, or why he didn't get a fair opportunity to be the starting quarterback this year. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. If you listen to Devin Brown talk, he's just like he exudes confidence. He exudes like I'm that guy. I know I'm that guy. They asked him about his burn the boats picture that he tweeted out, which everybody kind of figured out real quick that it was the Spanish conquest thing where they pulled up, basically said, "Burn the boats. We ain't turning back. We're fighting now." And he said he views himself as just a true competitor, and that was kind of just him reassuring himself of that he is, like the ultimate competitor, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get what he wants, which in this case is the starting quarterback job at Ohio State. So I don't know. That makes me a little bit excited for the bowl game because um, he looks confident. The team looks confident in him. Emeka Ibuka, when he was asked about how is Devin Brown different than Kyle McCord, and he mentioned Devin's ability to extend plays, and also said he has a cannon. Now, when he said that, I was like, okay, we didn't really see too many deep balls from Devin Brown. I mean, when we did, they were honestly on point. most of them at least. There was the one ball that he threw to Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it kind of just floated up in the air and just died. I don't know what the hell that one was. I don't know if it slipped or what. But basically, multiple players said Devin Brown has a phenomenal deep ball and he's athletic and he can extend plays. So I think we're going to be in for an entirely different offensive experience than what we have been into. Like honestly, if that is the case with Devin Brown, if he has a phenomenal deep ball, he's really good at extending plays. We're looking at more like a Justin Fields type of quarterback. And when I say that, I need everyone to understand that I know Devin Brown is not in the same realm as Justin Fields athletically. I do understand that. But if you look back at Justin Fields and what he did best at Ohio State, he extended plays, he ran the ball when he needed to, and he threw the ball deep. And I mean, the one game that I can remember specifically, if you think back to the Clemson game in 2020, was it 2020? Yeah, the Clemson game in 2020, Justin Fields was throwing bombs all over the field, and he was running the ball. He was extending plays, and I mean, if you could think of a game where you were more like impressed with the Ohio State offense, please let me know in the comments because that game against that Clemson defense to me was probably the most impressive game of Ohio State offense that I've seen. Um, Let me know if you guys think I'm wrong about that though. But anyway, I think that may be kind of what we're looking at, and I think that there's been kind of some rumblings that Travion Henderson will come back. I mean, look back at that specific team, 2019, and the receivers that they had, the quarterback they had, the running back they had. Hopefully, we can end up with a team somewhat similar to that next year, and even in this Missouri game. I think that was when Ryan Day was the most confident in his team when he could dial up run plays that were going to be successful, and then dial up play action, deep shots with Justin Fields. So I don't know. Like I said, there's no comparing Devin Brown to Justin Fields. He's not that caliber of player, and he can be. He has to prove it if he is, but I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying stylistically, that's kind of what I'm expecting from this team going forward with Devin Brown as the quarterback. Now, obviously, I think that going into next year, like no one has said this, but I would imagine that going into the 2024 season, unless Devin Brown just kind of does something crazy in this game and is like completely takes a job, there'll probably be a battle between, obviously Aaron Nolan will be on campus and then Lincoln Keenholz and Devin Brown. I mean, I don't think they're going to bring in a transfer QB. It seems like they like what they have in the room. So I don't know, man. I'm excited. I'm excited about this team now for once after I'm sorry, not I'm excited about this team. And it's been a while since I've been excited about them just because, we had the Michigan loss, which was heartbreaking, and then the losing guys to the transfer portal, and it's seeming like we're not really in on any of the guys that we should be or that we would want to be in on. I don't know. I think this is a good sign. The players seem excited. And honestly, I think that most of the players are going to play in the Cotton Bowl, which I think is cool. If you look back at last year, Alabama had a ton of guys that were draft eligible, but I think most of them, if not all of them, played in their bowl game last year, and they played against Kansas State. So, I mean, they played a team that was worse than what Ohio State's playing. So, having these guys play in the bowl game is good. I think that Ryan Day and this team really wants to win this game because they really want to win this game because they don't want to finish the season like their last memory at Ohio State or their last game at Ohio State or their last game of this season because this team won't be together anymore. They don't want that to be a loss. They want to hold a trophy and have a good time in Dallas, and I think it's Dallas where I could be wrong about that. I don't know. I'm just saying a damn city, whatever. Anyway, wherever the Jerry World is, I have no idea, but they should, they want to go out on a high note. And a lot of the players, like I have a list here of guys that said that they were coming back. It was Denzel Burke, or I'm sorry, let me clarify. They didn't say they were coming back. These guys said that they were going to play in the Cotton Bowl and that they still haven't made their decision yet. Denzel Burke, Donovan Jackson, Jordan Hancock, Jack Sawyer, Tyleik Williams, Emeka Egbuka, and then Cody Simon actually announced that he was coming back next year, which I expected that. I don't think that he got enough reps and enough playing time to really leave, so I didn't expect him to go anywhere. But, I mean, looking at these guys that said they were going to play in the Cotton Bowl, I mean, I think Denzel Burke's probably gone. Donovan Jackson could be gone. I think Jordan Hancock probably comes back. I think Jack Sawyer comes back. Tyleik Williams, I think, probably ends up going into the NFL. And Emeka, I think, comes back. And honestly, I think that Emeka coming back has a little bit to do with Devin Brown being the starting quarterback. I could be wrong about that, but just listening to the way that he talked about Devin, and kind of like what the energy that Devin brings to the offense and all that good stuff, I think that Emeka will probably come back because he expects that he can have a good year next year and ultimately end up being a first round pick because he's a first round pick talent. I don't know if the year this year that he had would have him with a first round pick draft grade. Maybe if he went to the combine, it looked really good, but Emeka is definitely a first round talent, and I always kind of thought that Emeka Ibuka should be an outside receiver. I think that's what he came here to play, and then they moved him inside out of necessity. I think once Jackson Smith and Jigba got hurt, and I don't know, man. I think that was not a great move for him. I think that his skill set is more of an outside receiver. I think that he has that like over the shoulder catch ability. He has that back shoulder catch ability that you're gonna more see from an outside receiver. And honestly, Emeka's really kind of big too. I think I don't know when I say that he's more like a running back. I could see him like an H back type role, kind of what they did with Xavier Johnson, but maybe not handing him the ball. Some of that like end around stuff, but not handing him the ball as a straight running back. But I don't know. I just think that Emeka is a first round talent, and I think that he will end up being a first round pick if he comes back and decides to play another year at Ohio State and then enters the draft next year, which I think that's what he's planning on doing. I predicted I think on my show Monday that the starting wide receivers for this game would be Emeka, Carnell Tate, and Brandon Ennis. I predicted that I think Carnell Tate will play X, Emeka Z, and Brandon Ennis in the slot. Now there was a tweet that came out, and I don't know what show it was from. I forget. I think it was like Buckeye Talk or something. They were saying that the three wide receivers right now were Emeka, Carnell Tate, and Jaden Ballard. I'd be interested to see if there's some truth to that. But the guys that I went with, I think Brandon Ennis is ready to get on the field, and I think that they need to make that happen because you don't want a guy like that to leave. That's a future superstar, and I mean, you better believe that all those schools down in Florida are reaching out to him, wanting him to come back home because he's a South Florida kid, and I know that Florida State, especially in Miami, are probably in contact with him, trying their best to get him to leave to come back down there. Especially if there's a question about whether he's going to be a starter next year at Ohio State. But I think that he's ready to play, and when he did get in the game, he looked really good. So we'll see how that works out. And that's just kind of a whole different conversation. But yeah, I mean, it looks like Ohio State's going to be pretty much at full strength, other than their quarterback, obviously, and then a couple guys. Guys that we really haven't heard from are like Tommy Eichenberg, Steel Chambers. They're probably both going to play, I would imagine, but I think they're both gone after this year. JT Tuimoloau is another guy. I honestly think that JT Tuimoloau probably will not play in this bowl game. I think that there's nothing really he can do in this game that's going to improve his draft stock. I think that he's probably going to end up being a first round pick still. And when I think he might be like a late first rounder, mid to late, or even like an early second rounder. But either way, I just think that he's probably going to head off to the NFL. He's probably not going to play in this game. And then the other guy is obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Marv's probably not going to end up playing. I mean, I'm sure he's probably with the team. He'll probably be there with the team and all that good stuff. But I don't think he's coming back, and I don't think that there's really a need for him to play in this game, especially not because he knows that him not playing is not going to drastically decrease the chance of this team winning this game, probably just because of the talent and the depth that Ohio State has in that wide receiver room. So I don't know. We'll see how that works out. I don't think there's too many other guys that are questions for opt-outs or questions for coming back. One guy who I actually would be interested in hearing from because his season ended with an injury, obviously, Lathan Ransom. I think that there's a chance that Lathan could probably end up coming back next year because I don't think that he got enough on tape, and I don't think he got enough playing time this year to kind of show what he was truly capable of. I mean, obviously he played most of the year, but I don't know. I don't think that Latham would be like a first 2 round pick or anything like that. And he's honestly could be that type of talent if he comes back and puts one more year in. He obviously has to stay healthy because Latham's had issues staying healthy, and that's kind of where they have to weigh their options. You know what I mean? Because he could definitely leave, but that's the guy that we haven't heard from at least. Um, yeah, that's about it for that. But let me see. Let's move on from that to. Oh yeah, one thing I thought was interesting. This, and I probably should have talked about this earlier when we were talking about the interviews and stuff more. But some of the offensive linemen said that they found out that Kyle McCord was leaving through social media. Now, I don't know if this is a story or no story. I mean, to me, I think it's really not a story. Like, a lot of people made tweets and made posts about, like, oh, well, that kind of tells you what type of leader, what type of blah, 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 blah. I don't think that. I don't think that that has any indication on it. I'm I'm guessing that the people that he told are just the people who he was closer with, the people who he was better friends with. You're not going to be best friends with every single person on your team. Anyone who's been around a group of people or played a sport or been a part of a team at work, you're not going to be best friends with every single person on the team. That's just not how it works. And I would imagine, and you're not going to like send out a mass message to your whole team like "fuck you guys, I'm leaving." You're not going to do that either. Like you're going to talk to the people who you were closest with, who you think will care the most, which is probably what he did. He talked to the guys who he thought would care the most, and he's told them like, "Hey, look, I'm going to explore my options here. This is not for me, whatever." And then, the rest of the guys found out the way that they found out, and those are guys who, like, again, I don't think it's disrespectful to them. Now, if any of those guys felt like, look, Kyle's my really good friend, and I can't believe he didn't tell me that. Obviously, they're right to feel disrespected, but I just think that some of the people who are tweeting about it and stuff are just overblowing the whole point. I mean, I don't. I think that's a nothing. Whatever. There's not a big deal. Like you're not gonna text every person or hold a freaking meeting if you're entering the transfer portal. That's just not how it works. So, some other transfer portal news. Um, Devin, or sorry, Kyle McCord and Julian Fleming both apparently went and visited Nebraska. Now, there's obviously that situation's interesting because Nebraska is receiving crystal balls now to land Dylan Raiola from the portal or from recruiting, and he's the guy who was formerly committed to Ohio State, decommitted, decided to commit to Georgia, moved down to Georgia to play high school football, and now is apparently looking like he's going to end up going to Nebraska, which that one's kind of weird for me because I think that one of his big things was not having another quarterback in the class or like not having someone that is going to compete with him. I could be wrong about that. I'm sure he's a competitor, but like I think one of his things is he wanted to be able to start right away. So if Nebraska were to bring in Kyle McCord and Dylan Raiola, that would be a very interesting situation because Kyle wants to play. I mean, he's only got 1 year of eligibility left, so he's not coming back after this, and he only has 1 year to do it. I don't know if he wants to go there and battle, but at the same time, if you're Kyle McCord, I mean, if you're worried about a true freshman quarterback, then that's a whole nother issue you have. So I don't know. Obviously they could end up Nebraska could end up landing Julian Fleming too, which they'll have a pretty good receiver. I think he's good. He just didn't get targeted enough, and I mean he had some drop issues and stuff like that. But I think Julian's a good wide receiver. And then let me see here. I'm just looking at some stuff. Yeah, I mean that's really it. Honestly, I don't have much for today. Like I said, just I wanted to give you guys a little update because the players met with the media. It's a little something to be excited about if you're an Ohio State fan. I think that we're in for a hell of a football game against Missouri. I think they got really good players out there, man. And I mean, you look at their game against Georgia. Georgia pulled away from them late. It was not domination, and the game. I think they only won by like 10. Georgia was probably one of the best 4 teams in the country, even though they lost to Alabama by 3, whatever. And so Ohio State's in for a game. They're treating this like their championship. Missouri is. Ohio State players better do it also. And honestly, I think that they will. I think Ohio State players are going to come out with a mentality of like, we got to show the country who we actually are. Because that game against Michigan, man, it just felt so uncharacteristic. I swear, like all the stuff that we saw all year happening, we were messing up on in that game, and it's just like Michigan did a good job. Kudos to them. They did a good job exploiting the weaknesses of Ohio State. The linebackers in coverage, and anytime Ohio State was not gap sound, they made them pay for it. But it just, I don't think that game was characteristically what Ohio State is. Man, they were not aggressive on defense. They were not aggressive on offense. It was just like we're trying to get to the end of the game and then try to win the game late. But and honestly, that's probably one of my biggest gripes with Ryan Day overall. I hate when he uses like the whole like matchup game. It's a matchup game, and he kind of views it as like we're gonna get through this game and we're gonna keep this game close until the end of the game, and then we'll figure out how to win it. And I hate that shit. I hate the way that he talks about big games. Like I think Ryan Day goes into big games like this not thinking that it's a possibility for Ohio State to win 45-17. Like, and I think that he's like, if we're gonna win this game, we got to win this game 30-28, 30-27. Like, and I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but that's how I feel when I see him talk about big games. He's like, we're gonna get to the fourth quarter and then we'll figure out how we're gonna win the game. And it's like, he never said those exact words, but that's the vibe he gives off. And to me, it's like you need to go into these games with a dominate mindset. That other team's not going into the game thinking like, this is going to be a close game, guys. Let's make sure we pull it off in the end. Hell no, they're going into that game thinking we're going to dominate these motherfuckers. And then they don't because Ohio State is a good team. But like having that mindset late in the game, and then once you if you're going into that mindset with all right, we're going to dominate them, and it gets late in the game and the game is close, you're like all right, we're in for a fucking fight. Let's go. We got this. But if you're going into that game thinking like, oh, we're going to get to the end and then we're going to win the game, I feel like by the time you get to the end of the game, your team is kind of looking at the other team like, damn, they're just as good or better than us. And that's just like, I don't know, man. I think it's just a mindset thing. And I don't know what Ohio State has to do differently to fix that. It just seems like kind of how Ryan Day is. That's honestly one of the reasons why I'm the most excited about Devin Brown being the quarterback, because I think that Devin Brown is the type of guy who is not going to mold himself to be what Ryan Day wants him to be. He will in terms of like a player, what Ryan Day expects for him to do on the field. But I don't think that Devin Brown is the type of player that's going to let Ryan Day mold him into the personality that he wants him to have. Or even if Ryan Day is not trying to do that, Devin Brown is not going to mold into Ryan Day's type of personality, regardless of what Ryan Day is teaching him. He seems like he's going to be himself. He's going to be confident, even overly confident sometimes. And I think that that's what Ohio State needs. I don't think that we need Ryan Day at quarterback. And that's kind of what Kyle McCord, I think he was trying to be like Ryan Day a lot of the times. Even if you look at some of the things he said, right? Like one of the things that bothered me the most about him this year was after Ohio State beat Notre Dame. Ryan Day went and did his press conference and he said, "Where's Lou Holtz now? Where, all that good stuff," right? He was hype. I loved that part of it. And then there was a video that came out, and I think it was CJ Hicks recording it. And Kyle McCord was in the locker room, and the first thing he said, he's like, "They must have fucking forgot." That part I loved. The second part, he came back and said, "Where's Lou Holtz now?" He said exactly what Ryan Day said. And that just threw me off. It's like, you're a college kid. Like, you're not going to, that's not your words. You're saying that because Ryan Day said that. That whole situation threw me off just from, even that was a big win for Ohio State, obviously, but I wanted him to just, as soon as he was like, "They must have fucking forgot," he should have said some shit like, "I'm that motherfucker," something. I don't know. He said, "Where's Lou Holtz now?" But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the show up here, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll be live probably about every other day at 10 a.m. So like Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. I may do some shows on Tuesday, Thursday too. Just depends on what's going on with the team. But give me a follow on Twitter at CFB_stop. And come back for more content if you enjoy it. Peace out. You guys have a great day.